Nearing the end of another church year, our focus is on eschatology. Eschatology literally means the study of the end. Our readings deal with eschatology by using a particular style of writing known as apocalyptic. In Greek, apocalypse means revelation. We are being given a revelation about the end times, the end of the world as we know it. Our first reading describes the end of time when the archangel Michael will come in preparation for the final judgment. This reading describes the end of time when the archangel Michael will come in preparation for that final judgment. Scholars place the time of this writing during the Maccabean revolt, which was about 167 to 164 BC, before Christ. The people were being persecuted and were hoping for some sort of salvation from God. Michael, the archangel, announces a message of doom for those who oppose God's people. The Book of Truth, a heavenly book which records future events, predicts the resurrection of the dead who will rise to everlasting life, and others who will experience eternal disgrace. In the letter to the Hebrews, our second reading reminds us of the difference between the priesthood of the Jewish faith and the priesthood of Jesus Christ. The priests of old had to offer continual sacrifice as a sign of their hope in God's forgiveness. Jesus made the perfect sacrifice himself once and for all. His sacrifice is symbolic, but also brings about forgiveness of sins. His sacrifice is once for all and never to be repeated. Jesus is now seated on his heavenly throne, awaiting the time when his enemies will be made his footstools. This refers to the end of time and the fullness of Jesus' victory over all of his enemies. Mark's gospel, which was just read to you, speaks of the persecutions his disciples will experience. Jesus promises there will come a time when he will return in glory and will judge all peoples. Even Jesus does not know the exact moment of that final judgment. He warns his disciples to always be prepared for the end of times. We must realize that these readings are truly pieces of divine revelation. Biblical scholars admit that some of these writings are symbolic and were written to give hope to the people of the time. What we can learn from these eschatological writings is about the fact that God's plan will be ultimately achieved. How about the certainty that those who are against or away from God will be judged according to the rejection of God's loving gift of salvation? As we travel along our earthly paths of life, we are still engaged in a battle against the forces of evil. The forces of good are under attack and continue to suffer. But the outcome is not in doubt. This affirms the resurrection of the dead at the end of time. All those who have fought the good fight will enjoy eternal victory and be present with the resurrected Jesus in glorified bodies. When the actual time of the judgment is, no earthly person can know. With faith, we are called to see the signs all around us. We face challenging times, but the ultimate victory has been assured by the once and for all sacrifice of Jesus. We will have to face the judgment of God individually at the moment of our death, and as a whole at the final judgment. If we have been to God, which in Latin means ad Deum, even if we have fallen into sin again, but repented, we will hear the message of the judge when he says, "You are acquitted. Come into my reign."